How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, guys, we're going to take a look at some Pokemon rumors and stuff like that. So let's get started with the first thing, which is going to be Nintendo Switch 2 related. Apparently, this is coming to us from Nate the Hate, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm going to be confusing people's names here, but I think Nate the Hate is another influencer who also covers like Nintendo related stuff, and people claim that he does have like decent knowledge. And apparently Nate the Hate heard that the Switch 2 is being revealed this week on the 16th, so Thursday. So basically, you know, in 2 days from when I'm recording this, because I'm doing this on Tuesday, so that's when they're saying we could be seeing it revealed. Now, of course, there's no guarantees we're actually going to see this thing revealed this week. It could be revealed next week. It could be delayed. Just keep in mind, anything is possible when it comes to Nintendo. It wouldn't be the first time they delay something purely because people are talking too much about it, which is really stupid if you think about it. But either way, apparently the reveal will be focused on the console itself, and the software showcase will apparently come later. Software is not the focus. He also says here, Stealth 40K, by the way, shout out to Stealth, saying, I think that the reveal will be similar to the original Switch. The games were shown on a TV or the game screen itself, but it's not like a deep dive which was done on the actual games. Software is going to get its own showcase, which, yes, basically what they're saying here is we're going to get some sort of reveal of the actual console, just showing a little trailer, showcasing the actual console, like literally being used, but not actually showcasing and going in depth on the actual device itself and like the actual stuff inside of it, right? The software side, because the hardware is actually seeing the console. And just think about how like trailers work, especially trailers for stuff like this. They're very, you know, straightforward. It's just people, you know, a happy family, like, you know, oh my God, I'm playing on a Switch, and it's going to be like them sitting on a bus playing, on the move, showing the new dock where they're, you know, like stuff like that. It's going to be a regular kind of trailer showing the console, but not an in-depth deep dive into what games are going to be on it, what's the launch thingy, etc. Nothing like that. Very little details in that regard, most likely. And then we're going to get a direct, probably sometime soon, maybe after Pokemon Day, like going into March or something, slightly before the actual release of the console itself, we should be getting some more information then with a proper Nintendo Direct. Usually there are Nintendo Directs also in February, so there's a chance we could get a Direct in February. Like we get the actual reveal now in January, and then they give us a proper Nintendo Direct in February to get us all hyped and excited for this stuff. So that's always a possibility. This is, again, no guarantees. Nothing's guaranteed, but it's highly possible. So keep that in mind. Keep that in the head. Either way, it's one of the first things. The next thing we have is this right here. And this is coming to us from Pori Leaks. Says it looks like a notorious Apple product leaker. Somebody who leaks Apple products, I guess in this case, from, you know, like on you know, the iPhone and stuff. Apparently confirmed that the Nintendo Switch 2 is indeed on the black market in China, which is kind of wild. So Genki wasn't really bluffing when they said they have access to a Nintendo Switch 2 all along. Apparently, famous Apple leaker Kang, who's an executive of an accessory maker also, confirms that the Switch 2 is available on the black market in China. And apparently here you can say, in recent days, the real console is available for trying on accessories. I dare not try. It looks like the real product is indeed available for people with means to examine, but it must be under the table, but therefore Kang is reluctant to do it. So Genki's CEO is probably lying about having access to a real console. He later retracted the statement, but we know why. And then there's the actual link to that. But yeah, it's a really strange situation to say the least. But yeah, apparently, again, it looks like some people are already getting their hands on this thing, which again is not that shocking, especially after you know, people saying that apparently Genki, the company that makes those accessories, turns out Nintendo went after them. So, I mean, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. It is what it is. The last thing in regards to the Switch 2 is going to be this right here from Light, who says, massive grain of salt, possible pack listed on Amazon Germany for a Nintendo Switch 2 plus PLZA limited edition. Probably an error or even a fake. Try to find the link without success. It was via 4chan, which, yeah, I don't know if you can trust this, especially because the no image available doesn't really match the size of everything else. Like the text size on the right here doesn't really match the size of the image on the left. It just does, something looks off about this. We'll say though, I'm totally like on board for a limited edition Legends EA Switch 2. That would be very nice, very sick, very cool, Nintendo, if you actually do it. Highly doubt this is going to happen early on at least. And if we do get a Switch exclusive Legends EA console, you already know that shit's going to be ass. You know it's going to be ass. You know Nintendo is very bad at making like any exclusive looking consoles, at least for the Switch, right? The Switch had terrible ones. I cannot think of a single one that was official Nintendo console that wasn't like, you know, a fan made or something like that, that actually was like worth me going out and being like, I want to get this more expensive limited edition version or this expensive version of this thing over the standard one. Like, I know they did a good job with like the 3DS and the DS and stuff, but man, Switch did not have any good ones. Of course, you guys are going to argue with me in the comment section down below, which you can do, but it's fine. It's okay to be wrong. I'm just messing. But either way, this is, again, not something that's really necessarily proof of anything. There might be a chance there might get an exclusive Switch 2 for the Legends EA, but I don't really know about that, Chief. We'll have to just wait and see if anything does come from that, like, just down the line. Like, right now, there's nothing indicating that, so we'll just have to wait and see if anything develops from that situation. But in terms of like other information in regards to really anything to do with Nintendo, there is one thing that's a bit wild, which I don't know if you guys have seen this, but apparently there is a company rather that actually came out and specifically, and really don't ask me why they did this, but apparently they made their own version of like Animal Crossing, and I think they call it like Anime Life or something like that, and it's really wild because it looks just like Animal Crossing. And this is not a Pal World situation, which I know a lot of people did make comparisons between Pal World and Pokemon designs that looked like they were ripped off. I'm not lying. When I saw this, this is not me bullshitting, I genuinely thought this was Animal Crossing. Like, I actually thought this was straight up Animal Crossing. I thought this was like some sort of like mod for Animal Crossing or something maybe coming out, because it was just a Japanese post. I didn't get what was going on. But apparently, Anime Life Sim is what this is called, and this is a game coming out on the PlayStation 5. This is a PlayStation, I think, exclusive. I could be wrong. And it quite literally just looks like Animal Crossing. Like even the text bubble for the speech bubble looks like Animal Crossing. And listen, I defended Pal World because I think Pal World fundamentally as a game is very different from, like, it's fundamentally a different game from Pokemon. Like, it doesn't function like Pokemon. Sure, I know there's a lawsuit and all that kind of crap, but I'm just going to be real with you here. Pal World isn't Pokemon. They're very different fundamentally in gameplay and systems and everything, right? Pal World is more of a survival game, more similar to like something like Rust or Ark Survival Evolved. More similar to that. Whereas Pokemon is an RPG, a JRPG at that, you know what I mean? With monsters you capture and collect, and, you know, it functions differently. It's an RPG game inherently versus Pal, which is a, you know, base building simulator more or less. But this right here, I'm sorry, but I mean, listen. I think it's good for Nintendo to get competition because it kicks them into gear, makes them work harder. But brother, if I look at this and it genuinely looks like straight up like Animal Crossing, like this, the first thing I thought was Animal Crossing. It is kind of wild. I'm not going to lie. So it is an interesting time to be, you know, a Nintendo fan, because we might see a lot of lawsuits coming out soon. We'll see how this one does. We'll see how this game actually performs. Again, I'm not an Animal Crossing fan, so maybe if you're an Animal Crossing fan, you maybe have different opinions, because maybe as an Animal Crossing fan, you are excited. Maybe you're happy because this just means, hey, I get more content. I get more stuff to play. Maybe that's a positive thing. You will just have to wait and see how things turn out. But let's move on to the final thing for this video, which is going to be this post on 4chan right here. And this, of course, is a rumor. And this rumor in particular is kind of an interesting one, but here's what it says. Apparently, it says the following, which is, leaks have dropped regarding Gen 5 Remake. Source is an anonymous Game Freak insider. Some mentions on the Japanese image boards. Now, apparently, there are plans for a Gen 5 Remake, but they don't want to do a straight remake after the poor receptions of BDSP. Which, that's going to have like a double issue of its in it, you know what I mean? Because here's the issue with people, right? People don't know what they want. People say one thing, but then they want another thing, right? And the thing is, when BDSP came out, if you really think about it, BDSP, I just didn't enjoy it, but that maybe comes from the fact that I mainly played Platinum as a kid, and I enjoyed Platinum as a game, and the extra stuff that comes with Platinum, and just, you know, like some of the changes that were made in Platinum. But like, for me, BDSP just felt extremely slow. And the issue as well was that there was a lot of bugs and glitches, literal bugs and glitches that existed in the original Diamond and Pearl that somehow were able to be recreated in a game that was made in a totally different engine with totally different developers. It's crazy to think about how much some of the stuff that happened with BDSP. But at the end of the day, it was a remake. It remade Diamond and Pearl. That's exactly what it did. Anybody trying to argue otherwise, you're wrong. It was an actual remake. It genuinely remade it. But that's the problem. People didn't want Diamond and Pearl remade. They wanted the Diamond and Pearl experience again, but better, if that makes sense. Because I think that's what a lot of people felt like with, let's say, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire or Heart Gold Soul Silver. Because what those games did was that they recreated that same journey, but still made it different enough and added so much extra stuff that somebody who's new to the franchise could be able to jump into those games and play them as if it's their first entry. BDSP, honestly, you could play Diamond and Pearl or BDSP. There isn't much of a difference. It's to the point where it's like, yes, it's a remake, but it's almost, to people, almost too much of a remake. It's too similar to the original game, where it hasn't done anything to innovate or change or use the advantages. Because the whole point of remaking a game is to bring it to the more, like, to a modern audience, like people that, didn't play it back then, to the new generation. It's supposed to bring it to new people, but also take advantage of newer tech and newer, consoles and capabilities and graphics to enhance that experience further. BDSP didn't really go far in that regard. They didn't add in a lot of new features. It didn't really do a lot with the graphics. It kind of just went a very bog standard route, which is fine, but that's kind of the issue. People were disappointed because they expected something larger. They expected the kind of jump that we had from Ruby and Sapphire to Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. That's a big jump from a literal pixel game to full 3D, and it was just very different, and it was its own thing. The story was still the same, but it had enough differences and stuff added that it felt unique. And of course, with the inclusion of Mega Evolutions and the whole split timeline there's so much that they did there that was enough difference to justify you wanting to play that version instead of the original version. Like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire and Ruby and Sapphire are inherently different games. They are a remake of like one another, but they're inherently different. Like, they're different experiences. They feel different. They work different. Sure, it's the same story and stuff, but they're different enough that they can be separate games. Honestly, I think the issue for people was there wasn't enough differences. And it's a weird thing to say because in other franchises, in other games, like let's say World of Warcraft, people wanted the original World of Warcraft, the classic vanilla experience without with zero changes. That's exactly what they didn't want modern stuff in there. So the problem is you can never satisfy everyone. And the fact that they are going to like kind of look at the poor reception of BDSP and because of that make changes or try to make the game less of a straightforward remake can both be a good and a bad thing. First of all, Black and White, to most people, either the downfall of Pokemon or the peak of Pokemon, depending on who you are. Some people love it, some people hate it. But this is the kind of game where, the story needs to stay intact because it was one of the better Pokemon stories we've ever had. One of the best, if anything. But they need to add in a lot more stuff around that to kind of justify why are we even getting a remake of it, if you really think about it, right? And they just need to add, like, honestly, all they need to do is add in enough new features and stuff to keep people invested. Like, make the game feel like its own thing. Like, you can see that it's a remake, but at the same time, it needs to feel like it's its own experience. And I think that's the biggest thing they need to make sure they do. Either way, and also, because of the elements of the original games, they don't fit with the modern Pokemon philosophy. And there it is. There it is. I didn't even get to that point, but there it is. It pretty much is exactly what I was trying to get at. So, apparently, the dex is the same, but there won't be the restriction of only using Unovan Pokemon until the post-game, unlike the originals. That is a good change. Like, I get it. I get the reason why they forced you to use Unovan Pokemon only back then, because the whole goal with Gen 5, for those you do not know, in Unova, was to be a soft reset of sorts, a kind of a resetting of the Pokemon franchise. It was supposed to be kind of like the halfway point of Pokemon, where they were going to just kind of reset it, almost like not start from scratch, but sort of, a soft reset, kind of making people go back and recatch 151 new Pokemon, right? Like from scratch. I think it was 156. I think Unova actually had like the most new Pokemon added, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 156 Pokemon. I could be wrong. How many new Pokemon in Unova? Let's see. 156. Yes, so I was correct. So yes, basically what I'm trying to get at is, they sort of like try to reset everything with that. And because of that, that's mainly the reason why they included only the first 156 of that region as available Pokemon and nothing else. It was so that people would have new Pokemon to use instead of always using the same stuff they've been using in every previous game up until that point, right? The goal was to reset the franchise, but still have the old Pokemon available and not take them away from people. So that's like one of the things you have to keep in mind, right? Like, It's not like it was an actual reset of Pokemon as a franchise, but that was the goal of it. So since this remake wouldn't be necessarily a remake to reset the Pokemon franchise, there's no point in doing that same thing. But I know for a fact people will be pissed off if they don't do that as well. Like, it's going to be those people who are like pissed off about it and people who love it. It is what it is. But anyway, they then say that triple battles and rotation battles are out. Pokestar Studios is under construction. Oh, God, I hate that. So, yeah, I mean, this probably comes from the fact that Unova also had the same thing with the Battle Frontier. And then triple battles and rotation battles are out. That's also a downside because that's one of those features that I think was, you know, like introduced in that generation and kind of a peak thing that people loved. So that would be a bit unfortunate. Soundtrack being completely redone. Internal testing and polls suggest that the original music didn't fit the series. That is strange. I think Gen 5 has some of the best tracks, actually. That's really weird. New gimmick being planned. Little information at the present, okay? Plan for more quality of life features. An optimal auto battle feature where the game will automatically pick the best moves that your Pokemon knows. Think Final Fantasy XIII's battle system was mentioned. And a hint system that suggests the best Pokemon to switch in. So I guess kind of like almost like an AI sort of giving you suggestions, or well, I guess it wouldn't really be an AI if it's kind of the game already knowing all the data, but still, same point. It's basically like the game kind of telling you what to do, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. I know some people that maybe, like, for example, myself, when I was a kid, I didn't understand English, so I kind of needed something like that to know what is what. I kind of just guessed my way through the entire game because I can't read English and I didn't know what each move did. So could be helpful in that case. By the way, the Dex Cut is still in effect. Some new Pokemon being added to compensate, mostly cross-gen Evos. Only one my source saw was a baby form of Lickitung, which, fair enough. I think that would be not too weird of a Pokemon to actually get a pre-evolution form of sorts. So that's fair. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is the rumor, though. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. Do you think Gen 5 remakes are still in the bag? Because I think Gen 5 remakes makes total sense this next generation. Not now. Next gen. Not now. Next generation, 100%. Yes. I think we're definitely going to get it. I think what we're going to get is this. 2026, Generation 10. 2027, Generation 10 DLC. And 2028, actually 2026, 2028 Gen 5 remakes. It just makes sense that way, and it also gives them enough time, especially if like Gen 5 is something recent they've started working on like the last year or so. They have more than enough time, 3 to 4 years, to literally get an entire remake made, ready, and shipped. So it should be fine. It should be Gucci. I think we'll be set, and we'll see how everything turns out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye bye.